Alright, so I don't have a script for this, so I'm totally gonna do this off the cuff with my first impressions of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard for the PC. I played this on the PC, this is PC gameplay footage, but I also played it on the PS4. They're pretty much identical except for the fact the PC has extra buffs. You can tweak some of the settings, make the game look nice and crisp. So this is the version that I'm running this game on. So first I want to talk about graphics. The graphics of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard looks fantastic. I mean, it looks incredible. The lighting, the dark atmosphere, how everything just looks realistic. Very realistic in a sense where you see people's hands and you see the wrinkles on their hands. You see like how bugs and creatures move. It looks so great in that engine, and it makes me want to see what more could they do with the newly crafted RE engine for Resident Evil 2 Remake. I think they can do a lot of good things with that engine, especially since the fact that it does get a consistent 60 FPS from what I played it. And that's really good. That is a really good step in the right direction for crafting a new engine for RE that can handle all the dark atmospheric tone of this series. So I really like how the graphics look and presentation and how the effects and everything just meld together into one unholy mess. So the graphics are great. What about the gameplay? Unfortunately, the gameplay of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is another story. The gameplay is largely subpar due to them scaling the vision back so much that exploration really has no meaning anymore. A good example is the dummy finger and the dummy hand, items that really do fuck all pretty much once you get them. There's just items in cryptic places and you're supposed to go through some impossible odds just to get one item to the next. I understand that they did this to enhance scares, especially with the molded in the basement, but it doesn't make good exploration. A good example is how you can explore things in Resident Evil 3 and you have live selection as a choice. That choice could either down Nemesis and get you a free item, or that choice can get you in a whole new area entirely that you might not want to go through because of the monster density. But they don't have this in Resident Evil 7. They just have Jack Baker patrolling the area to give you some scares, and the ambient scares sort of wear off when you know what you're doing the first time around, which is weird. It really doesn't even seem as good as PT in a sense, because at least PT, Lisa was random, she could appear anywhere and kill you at any time. This game, Jack Baker appears a few times and that's it, and he kills you in a scripted event if you go for the obvious choice, which is the key in the fireplace that you can find once you get through the trap door. We all know that Resident Evil got the way it was because the writers themselves wrote the characters in ridiculous situations, such as Leon jumping like 20 feet in the air with a lightning rod in his hand to kill a fly like Simmons. We all know this was fault of the writers, so them scaling back the vision to more survival horror aspects to being one location. That stuff is actually good at core design. This is stuff that people wanted to see for ages, with the Resident Evil formula coming back into fruition, but in first person it's just not as interesting as it should be. I don't know why, it's like you can't put your finger on it. This perspective shift should have helped them more than to damage them, but obviously it doesn't. We all have to keep in mind that Resident Evil was a trendsetter. It coined the term survival horror. It was all about survival horror. The problems that they faced with Resident Evil 6 was that it was just an overglorified third-person shooter, and it's not like we have too many of those saturated on the market now, do we? Of course. That's the only problem that they needed to fix, is to make these games scary again. While the minimal fears are present in the beginning hour, it seems to be sacrificed for just boring exploration and mediocrity, and that is probably going to factor into the main game. Will Resident Evil 7 actually hold up and have interesting concepts throughout the entire experience without seeming forced, without seeming boring, and without seeming like a slog of trial and error gameplay just to get alternate endings? I hope that is not the case. The stuff that you have to do to get alternate endings is just kind of stupid. The stuff that you have to view in videotapes where certain characters only drop certain keys, if you look at a past tense videotape, it's just stupid that the key magically appears there when it's not there in the first place. Then when you go for the obvious route, you get killed. So you have to go through more of the mansion and explore. It just seems like there's a lot of trial and error. Then if you get infected in the basement, then you get get the bad ending automatically. There's a lot of trial and error there. I hope this is not in the main game. I mean, it's fun sometimes to play with trial and error. It's fun to lull people into a false sense of security, but you have to be fun, challenging, and fair. And I feel, to an extent, Resident Evil 7 is not going to represent this if it's not done in the correct fashion of what I just stated. So here's hoping, here's praying that what Capcom said about the main game not being representative of beginning hour is definitely going to factor in outside of just the RE engine being used for the graphics, and everything is going to be reworked, retooled, and hopefully just a more exciting experience overall. From what I played, I was just disappointed. I really didn't see what the hype was about this demo. I sat through plenty games like PT, I sat through plenty games like Outlast. The novelty wears thin after a certain period of time, and Capcom ripping a page out of someone else's book just isn't exciting to me. Bring back old Resident Evil, bring back the old thrills, the old scares, bring back BOWs. More BOWs being added into the mix would be great than to have this House of 1,000 Corpses aura with these enemies running around talking to you and making the situation goofy. I hope they just go down a route where it makes sense in the end, and ultimately the satisfying payoff is the player being invested into the experience and being scared all the way and not being pulled away from the experience by cheap bullshit. I hope that everything is fairly done within Resident Evil 7. Otherwise, this game is going to be a massive, massive disappointment. This is Renegade Operative. I hope you guys enjoyed my first impressions of Resident Evil 7, the beginning hour. And once again, I am a die-hard RE fan. I have played all the RE games. This is a cause for concern. But in the end, I do hope that this turns out to be at least decent or good. And if it's not, it's just going to be another page in history where Capcom has a identity crisis because they change a perspective and then they have to go back to the drawing board. I'm pretty disappointed in this. Capcom, step up your A game. Go back, reevaluate, look at what's great, and step out of this light of mediocrity. You know you can do better than this. See you later.